WHSdenver.com, the most amazing station ever created by the one and only Henry Archuleta. We are Taste Life Nutrition Radio. What are we about? We're about all of the goodness in health and wellness. We're about bringing you truth. We're about bringing you love, and we're about bringing you, oh man, I told you every time I mess things up. I didn't turn my speakers on. I didn't do any of this, and I was off last week. All right, I'm going to do this again. We can't start over because we're live.
That is okay.
And so there we go. Why am I still hearing stuff? Because I turned the wrong one on. All right, here we go.
Lots of buttons.
Man, I wish I could edit these, but I can't.
Too many buttons to play with.
Oh, man. Okay, do I have everything done? We got it done. All right, we're going to start again. So what are we about? We are about all of the goodness in health and wellness, not technology, because I obviously suck at technology. But we
I love it. I love it.
It is too much. I'm telling you. That's what I said when I first started the show. It's like I always mess something up.
Yep.
It's the way that it goes. So give me science. Don't give me computers or any of that other stuff. I know you're the same.
I agree. Technology is scary.
It is. Okay. So we're about bringing you truth in science, not in technology. But we bring to you, what I love about this show is bringing people who are out there to serve and to do good and to bring truth and to bring the real deal, to love on people and to bring goodness to the world. And to date, everybody who I've brought on, unintentionally, but it's true, has been an entrepreneur and truly out there to give health, give wellness, give education, give insight. And one of those things that I think that we need a lot of insight in is about better?
Inside about, maybe? Yeah, okay.
Research. So, I love science. I think, and I know you love science.
Science is the best.
It
Absolutely. I love science. I live science.
Yes. Yeah. It's awesome stuff. But what's really true? And what's really science? And my thought is the world we're living in right now, they talk about science. Is it really science? Or is it opinion? Because I think a lot of it is opinion, and it's really annoying and frustrating. And you can't call science science if it's opinion, right? Science is ever-changing. We're learning. We're figuring things out. But you can't call an opinion science. So today we have on Tammy Miller. She is the founder of Sage Nutrition Coaching. But I call myself a researcher. This is a researcher. Like a true researcher.
Yes.
Years and years and years in research. And another topic that I definitely want to talk about is mycotoxins. I'm super excited to talk about that. That might have to be another show, but we're going to hit on it at least today because it's awesome stuff. Anyway, so I'm introducing Tammy because, and wanted to bring her on because she can give us, as it says in the title of the show, the ins and outs of how to understand and determine where there's bias in research, because it is everywhere. And I would call it marketing.
In a lot of cases, it's definitely marketing. Yeah, I would definitely call it marketing. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's so frustrating. So,
it is.
Thanks for being here. I'm super excited.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. It's been months ago, and it happens like this, and it's really frustrating, but it's the way that it goes. Frustrating, and I'm thankful for it, that we're booked out for a while. But when we first started talking, and you started talking about what you do in the research, I was like, oh, we have to have you on the show, because it's not easy to determine what's right, what's real, what's opinion, what's full on fake. Right? And we need to take the accountability on ourselves to look at who funds the data. I'm getting ahead of myself because we always start the show with gratitude, which is very important, because I can get wound up about stuff like this, and we need to start off, and I'm sure you're there as well.
Yes.
But we start off with gratitude because gratitude can change our world. It changes our biochemistry. It changes our outlook on life. It radiates to the people around us, which means it can change the world.
Absolutely.
So what are you grateful for?
My biggest grateful thing is my family.
Yeah.
Absolutely my family from all sides. My parents always supported me in, this one as a young child in the early 70s, where, women were good at English and social studies and not good at math and science, could see very early that math and science is where I was going to go. Yeah. And always supported that. Always supported that when I was 14, I told my dad, I'm going to go to CU. I'm going to major in biology, in molecular biology. And he went, okay, honey, that's nice. You're 14.
Whatever you think.
And 8 years later when I graduated, he said, okay, so you knew what you wanted to do. Yeah. And so they were always supportive. Awesome. My husband is very supportive. My sister, we have a podcast together. She is very supportive. And so having people around me that are always supporting me, my parents, my husband, my sister and her husband, and that's really important to me.
Amazing.
To have that, because it makes me feel like I can do anything.
Yep. Cool. What's the name of your podcast?
Is Bodcast with a B, Bodcast with Sisters, Get in Bed with Your Body.
Love it. Bodcast with a B, Bodcast, Getting in Bed.
Bodcast with Sisters.
Bodcast with Sisters, Getting in Bed with Your Body. That's amazing.
Yes. With a picture of us laying in a bed.
So good. So good.
Yes.
Okay.
And wait, what are you grateful for?
Oh, thank you. Wow. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for good science. I went to, do you know Cellular Biosciences?
I do.
So I went to their conference last week. Okay. And they just have my heart. And they're a sponsor of the show also, but, you talk about, I love data, I love research, I am not the research. I research, obviously I have to research, but I'm not trained in research. They have their own chemists and researchers and scientists on staff that bring amazing products, innovative products. But, they had on speakers talking about breast implant illness. They had speakers on talking about mycotoxins and Lyme disease and radiation and, the toxicants that we surround ourselves by and the things that we put in our body and on our food. And we talked about today's science and is it really science and all of these things and the fear mongering and all the propaganda and so much. It was awesome. Yes. I mean, it speaking to me, yes, and it was 3 days of mind blowing. I'm tired. I need a glass of wine, kind of,
Yeah. I gotta relax.
Yeah, it was so good. And so I love people who are out there working their asses off to bring goodness to the world, right? Which is what the show is about, and what I love about this conference. And people who are excited and passionate and giving and caring and all of the things that are important in life.
Right.
And so that's what I'm grateful for.
Excellent.
All the
I
good
love
stuff.
it.
So thank you for reminding me to be grateful.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we start to dig in, let's dig in, but let's dig into you. I want to give everybody sort of a feel of where you come from, and you did that a little bit with your dad or your parents, but how you got from, you go to molecular biochemistry and math. I love science. I hate math. I suck. If they're numbers, I want them on a lab report.
Got it. I love the math. I love the math because math amazing. Never lies to you.
It's true. Well, unless you do it wrong like I do.
Then it can lie. Or unless you change the data.
Change the data.
To make it be what you want it to be.
Or stick an I in it or a Y. Never understood.
Why we have imaginary numbers.
That's the alphabet. Don't confuse me. Anyway. Math just frustrates me, but it's a mental block, and so literally I want my math or I want my numbers on a piece of paper because that makes me happy. But
yes,
I love people like you who are good at math and who can bring good math and bring truth, right? So let's talk about how you got here. You go from cool research fungi and mycotoxins and all of these crazy things that are pathogenic. So scary. But and now
fun,
yes,
not
okay.
scary, fun.
Okay, I'll take it.
Depending on who you are.
Yes. Actually, I believe that. I just know people who have mycotoxin infections, right? And
Oh
that's
yeah,
scary.
they're horrible.
Yeah.
The toxins do
They're
very
terrible.
weird things to your
Yeah,
body.
it's crazy. But now you are a nutrition coach or
Yes.
nutritionist, and what do you like to go by?
I prefer nutrition coach.
Okay.
And I also teach at Nutrition Therapy Institute
Yeah,
as well.
where I went to school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I teach new nutrition therapy masters.
Nice.
So that I teach 3 of their courses.
Awesome.
So
Very cool.
I love that.
Very
I love
cool.
that.
Yeah, I bet you love being a teacher. It's fun to teach the great things that you know.
It's fun to allow people to get information
Mm-hmm.
and learn how to get information on their own and
Yes.
find information.
Yes.
Which is part of the reason for today's podcast is how do we do that as people who are not necessarily trained in how to do things.
Right.
So.
And we see something that's online and we believe it.
We
Or we think, how do I know if that's true?
Correct.
And you don't know how to look it up. You don't know how to understand if it's true or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I started off I have degrees in molecular, cellular, developmental biology. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
And
Amazing,
I'm a biochemist, and I did research for decades on pathogenic fungus.
Yeah.
So fungus that kills people.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is Aspergillus fumigatus. It's so cute. It makes little dust bunnies in the lungs. It is not good for you.
Dust
but
bunnies
it is,
in the
but
lungs.
it is
You don't
cute.
want that.
You don't
Cute.
want this. It does take oxygen. It can go systemic. It can do a lot of things to the whole body. I've seen it growing out of people's eyes, things like that, and having to identify that. So doing research.
Okay, what does that look like?
It's what we call a filamentous fungus. So think the penicillium, the fungus you see on bread that looks like hairs, and then it gets the color that comes to it, and the color is one of the ways by eye that you can identify what type of fungus it is. Is by the color and the hue, and that's one of the things that I did is really understanding which fungus, which fungi is which, being able to identify it, by sight, being able to identify it under a microscope, being able to grow it on plates. So, my favorite, my baby, does go
Aspergillus is
other
scary
places.
stuff. I mean, if I
It
see it
is.
on labs, I'm like, okay, not good.
yes. Any type of Aspergillus.
yeah.
And around here we get fumigatus and a lot of Aspergillus niger.
Okay.
Is probably one that you have seen on reports.
Yeah.
So I did research for years, and I will tell you, coming from a research background, it is very competitive, and it is getting more competitive by the hour in getting NIH grants. So NIH is the National Institutes of Health, and National Institutes of Health, they don't care what your results are. They are giving you money, and usually it's for baseline research, and they're giving you money to learn new things, to try new things. They're not going to care what that results are.
Which is the way it's supposed to be, right?
Exactly. Now, if something doesn't work, they're not going to give you more money for it, and you have to change tactics.
But motivation to get more money.
Right, but that's why we come up with hypotheses that we either prove or disprove, and that's what a hypothesis is for.
Sure, yeah.
And so, with the fact that it's so competitive, there are a lot of other funds that you can get, and some of them are straight from companies, and some companies are okay with it, and some companies are not. We did have a grant in the past from a company to test something that I did it in multiple times to make sure that my results were always the same, and was told that's not the results we want. These are the results we want, and that's not what's going to happen. And then, can we help you with the designing of the experiment? No, because that design is forcing the results one way or another.
Right.
And if you really want to be impartial, you have to design research that can show you the truth and not force it to be one way or another.
Well, and that's Science.
And that's science.
Unbiased science.
Unbiased science. And you can lose money in funding from some of these companies if you don't do that, which we did, which is fine because we had an NIH grant coming in.
Good.
So that was fine. It was, to hold us over. But there are a lot, because it's so competitive. Most research places, even at universities, don't have the option to do all the research that they want to do. They have to get funding from companies. And sometimes it's straightforward companies. Yep. And you know that this company is asking you to do something. And you have to keep your employees. You have to keep your students. You have to keep your grad students. And so, there's a lot of things that happen where I can understand where you're caught between a rock and a hard spot. And that happens. Right. And so that's where, as listeners, I want everyone to understand that, first of all, there's two sides to every story. Yep. There's no research. There's a reason it's called research. If it was easy, it would be called search because you would do it once and you'd be done. But
which is what a lot of us do, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna search on the internet and I'm gonna find an answer. Is it the right answer or is it fake?
Correct. And that's where we have to learn to be our own advocates. Okay? Yes. So we ended up closing down the lab, and I teach for pre-med, for pre-med students, the different sciences, pre-dental. And then I decided I love nutrition. I love food. I love to eat. Really what it is I love to eat. And so I changed my tactic and I went into nutrition. So I did, I did a lot of training in nutrition so that I can learn the ins and outs of nutrition. But knowing that nutrition is, the research in nutrition is early. We're in the infancy of nutrition research. And it takes a long time to actually find reality. You can't just do one experiment and say, oh, that's fine. Which and you probably have this too. Clients that ask you all the time, well, I used to say to eat eggs, and then they told me not to eat eggs. And now they're saying eggs are okay again. Why?
That fat, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and I think the eggs are along with the fat, but they talk about the cholesterol and how the cholesterol is bad. Ridiculous. Anyway, go ahead.
Right.
It's just and frustrating.
It is. And part of that's for people who are not trained, that's got to be horribly frustrating. Yes. And that's one of my things is I want to make sure that people know the why. Yes. Don't just listen to someone and say, eat this, don't eat that. Right. Oh, this is the new diet. Everybody's doing it. Oh yeah. Do it.
You're gonna get the same results as everybody else.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I want people to understand that, first of all, research is in its infancy. There are things we know are absolutely good for us. Yep. And things
vegetables.
Vegetables are wonderful for you. You should have them. I will tell you, I had a very boring dinner last night.
Did you?
I told my off-camera teachers last night, this was the most boring dinner I've had in a long time. I had white fish and cauliflower.
Nice.
Everything was white.
All white.
I'm like, there was no color there.
I'm not sure I've never done that before, but
The whole plate was white. So today I have, I always eat salads and have every vegetable under the sun on them. So I'm already looking forward to my lunch and my salad and everything that's colorful. Yes. And not just white.
I did one time, I posted my salad and I think somebody said, your kitchen sink salad. Because it's like everything, you throw everything in it.
Yes. Yeah, I put things like pumpkin seeds. I honestly put everything in it. Yep. But I want people to understand why you need certain nutrients, why your body needs to have the macronutrients, why there are percentages, and I will tell anybody that's listening, the percentage ranges that you see for fats, carbs, and proteins, those have been scientifically found. Every cell type that we know of, that we've ever grown in cell culture in plates, if they are not within that range, they die.
Interesting.
Within 36, 48 hours. They are dead. The only reason we can go outside of that is because we have a liver. that can do lots of things for us. But how much do you want to tax your liver? Because if you tax your liver too much, your liver gives up. And it's major for detoxification. It's it's major for making bile. So there are it stores energy. There's so much that your liver does. That's
an amazing organ.
It is. It's not my favorite organ. Mine is kidney.
Really?
But yes,
I love that.
it's not my favorite. Everybody has to have a favorite organ.
It's true. It's true. and I think kidney tends to be lower on the list, except for people like nephrologists.
Yes. That kidney is my favorite.
That's so
but
funny.
you also can tax your kidney when you're taxing your liver, because the kidney is trying to get rid of all the soluble waste that the liver is trying to break down. So we know that these percentages are real for all cell types, all human cell types, all animal cell types, bacteria, fungi, everything we've grown. There's a reason that those are out there. So, I want people to understand why some of these things exist, why we're told copper is important for you. We know that copper deficiency for scoliotics, copper deficiency is major for teenagers that are scoliotic. We also know in animal models, if we deprive a pregnant mother of copper, then like pigs and horses, they get swayback, which is their version of scoliosis. So there's lots of things that we need that we don't even think about. So that's how I come to nutrition, is I want you to understand the why. I'm not going to tell you absolutely don't eat any of these things, because everything in moderation, and if you want a piece of cake, have it. That's cool. I love it. But I want people to understand what their body does with the nutrients, and what their body does with when you don't have the nutrients, or you have things that you're not supposed to have. So
that's we're very much, which I certainly expected, but along the same lines. It's we can tell people, okay, I'm looking at your labs or whatever it is that we're seeing, and we say, yes, this is what your body's telling me. So, but this is the why. And I want people to understand that they're feeding or not feeding their body, like truly feeding their body, right?
Correct.
So have the piece of cake if that's what you want to have, as long as it's not going to throw you, spin you in a, curveball outside of, for, because you've got major, mycotoxin exposure, right?
Exactly.
And
there's something else going on.
But so understanding your body and understanding the why behind what you're eating, and making decisions, because when you understand the why, then you can make the decisions for your body. And you can say, I'm going to take it and I'm going to feel good about it because it's going to make me feel a little crappy tomorrow, and that's fine, or I won't, right? And so you deal with it. And sometimes I get one of my favorite things, I don't like for people to feel bad, right?
Absolutely.
It happens a lot. But when I have a client who goes through the process, goes through the protocol, is feeling better, and says, I just wanted to have that cookie or sandwich or cake or you name it, whatever it is, right? And they're like, I felt horrible. And maybe it was eggs, right? Maybe it was just whatever it could be. And I love this because it's that understanding of their body. It's like, I don't want you to feel bad, but now you know. And they're like, yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
It's cool stuff.
Exactly, and understanding why you need little things for enzymes.
Yes.
And so I come from a very scientific background, so I talk nutrition in a very scientific, as do you, a very scientific manner. So then for me, I've done little blips on Instagram and on my business website about different pieces of research that are out there, and can you believe these, and what do you know? So first thing I want everybody to know is, when you are looking at anything you see, it doesn't matter if you see it, I see things on the Today Show, I see things on Instagram, or I hear them on NPR, or it doesn't matter where you get them, always look into them for yourself. Because you need to know if it's real or not. And so one thing I want people to understand is, anytime that there's something that is printed, there's likely a reference or references
Yep.
with them that you can click on.
Mm-hmm.
They know that 99% of the people that see this are not going to click on anything. They're just going to read this article and go, oh my goodness, that is the best thing for me. I should do that because look at the picture of all these people that have done that are feeling great and looking great and have the best life. First of all, everything we post is our best life. That's just the way that all of this works.
Right.
But why did they get that way? Where are those pictures? Have you noticed that they are stock pictures that they use for many different things?
Yes.
And so they know that most people are never going to notice that. They know that most people, they can put references in and no one's going to click on them. Most people are just not going to click on them. And I challenge everybody today to click on those and see what those are. Sometimes the click goes no place. I have seen that where I've clicked on things and it goes to an empty page that says this does not exist. Okay, that's not a reference. That's putting something in to make people think that there is a reference there. But when there is a reference, which in many cases there are references, you need to look at those references and you need to see what those references say. And what you need to do first is always go right above. Sometimes it'll be at the very top, it'll give funding. But usually it's right above the references, below the conclusion, acknowledgements, and then it has the funding and if there's any conflict of interest, and then the references. Always look and see who funded it. If it's funded by the NIH, they're going to be able to do what they want to do. They're going to give the actual results that they got. If it doesn't say NIH, even if it says another name of a company that sounds good, check into that company. A couple examples, it was from 2014 and 15. It didn't last very long. And it was at University of Colorado here in Denver and University of South Carolina. There was a global energy balance network. That sounds like you're really trying, and it was a nutrition, you're really trying to get balance in people's body, make sure that they get enough energy. Well, it's a front for Coca-Cola. And yes, unfortunately, it claimed to look into obesity research, but everybody who got grants from this or from these universities that published, basically they were saying that obesity has nothing to do with what you eat. It has to do with the fact that you don't exercise. So if you exercise a ton, you can eat whatever you want. You don't have to change what you're eating. You don't have to change the amounts. You don't have to change the type of food. You just have to exercise.
How many of you out there have done that? Have exercised and exercised and exercised and exercised and exercised and seen nothing?
A lot.
It happens all the time. Why? Because there are imbalances in the body.
And it's hormonal. It's hormonal. When you are exercising too much, your body responds by releasing the stress hormone, cortisol. Cortisol actually increases the amount of fat that you store.
And it's catabolic. So it decreases your muscle tissue.
Exactly. And we know that adipose tissue, where fat is stored, is an endocrine organ. It actually can create more estrogen, which causes more fat to be stored. So, so over-exercising is not good.
No.
Is not going to help you to lose weight and not change your diet at all.
So what we hear a lot is it's 70 to 80% diet, which I don't like the word diet. It's not diet, it's lifestyle, right?
It's
which is all-encompassing, so I just don't like the term diet. But 70, 80% diet, then 20, maybe 30% exercise. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so Coca-Cola is telling you that it's all exercise and not diet. What do you think about that?
Exactly. And in reality, it went a little bit further with some of the research at CU that they actually put out in 2014 that people lose more weight on diet soda than they do on water. And they call it non-nutritive, sweetened beverages. is what they call it. And so really it's diet soda.
Right.
And they showed, and depending on how you design experiments, you can see, you know, what you want to see. And they showed that you lose weight more, so you should replace your water with diet soda. And that part of that was Global Energy Network, but it was also the American Beverage Association that funded all of that.
Because we are, what is it, 90% soda. Diet soda. We're made up
totally of diet soda because, you know, the fake sugars, that's what we're made up of. That's what we use. It doesn't go to our urine at all.
No, or our brain, or our, it doesn't sit in our tissues and cause toxicity. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And two of the authors on that actually had additional outside funding from Coca-Cola.
Jeez. And
so, you know, and it depends on what they're doing, what they say. Some things will say that that the views that are expressed here are not the views of, are representative of the views of the authors, not necessarily the views of their funding or their institution. Not necessarily doesn't mean they had no hand in it. It means we're trying to say that they probably helped us write the paper. You know, I've seen some of them out there that will say they have funding from different places, and one of them had minor funding from NIH. And in the acknowledgments and in the conflict of interest, it said this paper is solely the responsibility of the authors and is not the views of the NIH. It had minor funding from the NIH. The rest of the funding was from Coca-Cola or sugar or things like that.
So the NIH, because they funded part of it, and then they have their little, you know, blip that says this is not the views of NIH, but they still published it?
Yeah, these are published. These are published in peer-reviewed journals. Because
peer-reviewed, of course.
Yes, these are in peer-reviewed journals.
Peer Coca-Cola peers?
No. No, so a lot of the nutrition, like clinical nutrition, things like that, that are peer-reviewed, that they look and they make sure when you say that this is the design you had, this is the design that you have. But they are saying straight out, this is not the views of the NIH. They don't say this is not the views of who else has done this. And so there are so many examples. There was something several years ago saying that candy does not cause weight gain. And it was funded by a company called Tate and Lisk, or Tate and Lyle. And so that sounds like Tate and Lyle Inc. Oh my goodness, this is a great company. Well, when you look at it, it's the EU sugar refining, American sugar refining, and the primary products ingredients of America, which is sugar refineries. So, of course, what are sugar refineries wanting to find? Eat the sugar. You can eat
sugar
all the
is
candy.
healthy now.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things to look at. In a lot of nutrition articles, it'll say, we got a Lisker award. They got an award from Coca-Cola. Lisker is another front for Coca-Cola, okay, as is International Life Sciences Institute. So there are, always look them up.
Know where they're
and
going.
Know where that funding is coming from. And sometimes read the papers and see if it even says, or just search for something, see if it even says what it says. There's a new Keto 2.0. That I know I'm going to make some people upset with this, but that's okay.
It's okay. It's science.
It's science.
Real science.
It's on, I've seen it on Instagram. And you can click, and they've got an article, and they have 5 references in there. And one of the references, they say that scientists found that participants were able to burn fat at a rate 1.6 grams per minute, which is 28.6% faster than a low-fat diet. Okay. There are a couple problems with this. I clicked on it. There is an article. The article is Metabolic Characteristics of a Keto-Adapted Ultra-Endurance marathon runner.
Because that's everybody.
So first of all, this is less than 1% of the human population, and they're following people that are highly trained, that they have nutritionists that follow their every move.
Yeah.
They have people who help them sleep. They have people, I mean, these guys are engineered to a point that no one else is. Even a regular marathon runner is not this group of people.
Right.
So first of all, this has nothing to do with anybody who's going to be looking at this Keto 2.0. Secondly, I went to the article, I read the article, and I was not finding these numbers. So I actually did a control F, a find. These numbers do not exist in the article that they are referencing at all. So these are numbers that were made up or found someplace and just put into here. What they actually said was, compared to highly trained ultra-endurance athletes consuming a high-carb diet, long-term keto adaptation results in extraordinarily high rates of fat oxidation, whereas muscle glycogen utilization is the same. So, but these are people that are highly trained, that are, I mean, they're, and this was for specifically a 3-hour run. 3 solid hours of running. So right there, that's more calories than I burn in a week and a half, 2 weeks, right? So this is not appropriate for the people looking at this. Exactly. And one of the other ones they were doing was funded by a group that is about agriculture and farming. So they want you to eat high protein, low carb. And it was the effects of high protein ketogenic diet on hunger, appetite, and weight loss in obese men who were feeding at libiditum, meaning they can eat anything they want. The conclusion was, in the short term, meaning this is not a long-term thing, this is not something you can do for a long time, and you definitely shouldn't unless you're under a doctor's care, because the liver and the kidney are going to take a huge hit, and it's really not good for you. But they found that in short term, high protein, low carb diets reduce hunger and lower food intake significantly more than high protein, medium carb, non-ketogenic diets. And again, this is funded by an agriculture and animal foundation that wants you to eat meat. And they say in short term, and they're talking about obese men. Those obese men were under a doctor's supervision for the 1 to 2 weeks that they did this, number one. Number two, if you're obese, it's going to look like you're losing weight, losing fat faster, because you have a lot more to lose. So
when you totally changed, what were they eating before? They're eating, well, I mean, who knows, but your standard American diet, right, is essentially what they're eating. You go to Whole Foods and you get the junk out, you get the inflammation down for a short term, you're going to lose weight.
Right, and if you're looking at obese men, they're going to say, oh my gosh, look at the number of pounds that they lost. Well, if you're the average person, number one, you're not going to lose that number of pounds in a week or 2 weeks. And two, if you do, you really need to check yourself into a hospital, because there's something going very, very wrong with your body if you are losing that much that fast. You know, it's a higher percentage when you have a higher mass to start off with.
It's such a joke, and it's so frustrating that, and I'm sure you have more on that, and I just have to vent a little bit, because again, you know, we're sitting here in this world where we're calling science, and they're making numbers up, and they're twisting data.
Yeah, and statistics can be used in any way that you want them to be used. This is why you have to look things up, because those statistics were not there. I have not figured out how they got them. My guess is they probably looked at one of the graphs and said, oh, if we divide this number by this number, we're going to get this percentage. So we can say this is how much, what percentage they're burning, how much higher it is than the norm. You can turn data any way that you want to turn data, if you want to.
If you have a bias.
Yeah, but that one really worried me, because I've been seeing that Keto 2.0, that the numbers that they are showing in that article don't even exist in the article that they are are referencing. And sometimes there's not even an article that they reference. There was it's probably about 4 years ago now. I remember hearing it on Today's Show and then seeing it on Facebook. And I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but they're capsaicin patches that you put on your abdomen that help you to lose fat very quickly. And the idea behind this comes from, we have seen if people eat a lot of capsaicin that they may burn fat faster. Notice I'm saying may.
Yep.
I didn't say absolutely 100%.
It's amazing how a little word can be a key word.
Yes, they may burn it faster. And I looked up the information from the Facebook article that they had a whole video, and they talked about this doctor, and he's done all this research, and he published it in this journal. I went to the journal, and I searched from the beginning of when the journal started, which was probably before this guy was born. And this particular person has never published in that journal. Someone with the same last name did.
Oh!
But it wasn't even on that. And then I looked up for capsaicin. There was one article on capsaicin patches. And it was done in bald rats, which are not human. They are rats.
Not today.
And our bodies and rat bodies are not the same. And they showed that, yes, some of them lost weight. But they were getting sick from having this capsaicin patch on them. And
capsaicin's strong stuff.
If it's purified capsaicin, it can kill fungus. If it's very concentrated, but but the concentration that's needed for that is also going to harm you beyond repair. So I'm not saying go out and get pure capsaicin by any stretch of the imagination. But there was this whole thing on it, and they named the doctor and what he did and where he worked and what the journal was.
Unreal.
And you guys can all go to, just put into Google PubMed, P-U-B-M-E-D, and you can search for those articles there. And if it has, or if they give you a link to it, if it has a number that says DOI on it, and you'll see that up towards the top, toward the where the actual name of the article is. Click on that, and you should be able to see, at least, if not the whole article, you should be able to see the abstract, the conclusions, you should be able to see acknowledgments and funding. If you click on the DOI, you should be able to see that.
Nice.
And so I want to challenge everybody to think about it, and to look for things that are the opposite of what you're seeing. Because if you look for articles that are the opposite, then you can see both sides of the story. See who's funding them. And we are all intelligent human beings. We can come to our own decisions instead of listening to what somebody else says.
I think that's called being gullible, which I have been gullible.
We all have. Oh my goodness, we all have. There's always something. But if we start to think in a logical manner, we can start to look things up. And we can start to find, really, is it true? Is it science? Was it funded by someone who was looking for something in particular, like, yes, please feed your children candy, or please drink diet soda over water.
It's just disgusting. It's disgusting. It's maddening.
It is. And it gets even worse. The U.S. dietary guidelines, when they put those out, very heavily lobbied by the food industry. And 51% of the people on the board that make the final decision come from the food industry. The other 49% are actually scientists, nutritionists, dietitians, people who know the science. But 51% are coming from the food industry. So when you look at those U.S. dietary guidelines, it's not good. And when they said in 2015 to lower sugar, they got a huge blowback from a lot of the food industry. And that has then been modified a little bit.
Modified. So more sugar is fine.
Yeah, you may want to decrease your sugar intake.
So I can't believe we have like 5, 6, 7 minutes left.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
Wow.
It goes so fast. We're not going to talk about mycotoxins, so we are going to have you on again, and we're going to talk about mycotoxins, and I think we can talk more research stuff, because this is something that that everybody needs to know, needs to learn, needs to understand, and know that we are accountable for the decisions that we make. And I think that I say
Absolutely.
that, I say that when it's what we put into our mouth, when it's what we put into our skin and into our environment, it's beautiful that we have so much power and control over our own health, our family's health, and the health of future generations. The power is in our hands, but it holds us accountable for making those decisions. So take it, love it, because it's amazing the power
Yes.
that we have, but know that you are you're really accountable for most of your health and beyond. So for generations to come.
Exactly. And you can go into, for generations to come, epigenetics,
That's
which
exactly
we
where I
are
am.
learning
Yep.
so much more about epigenetics.
Yep. It's
I mean,
amazing.
I remembered when people were first talking about it, 30 years ago, and a couple of us were kind of giggling in our lab, like,
I remember you
don't
telling me
know
this,
if
that's
gonna-
right.
if that's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh my,
It's huge.
totally went. I mean, and it makes it's so powerful to be able to see that, and it's actually been around for a long time. I remember my mom when I was a kid saying, you have genetic memory. I wake up in the
You're
middle
like,
of the
what does
night
that mean?
and grab for rings that I think were stolen during World War II, and so she
wow.
goes into things like that, and that's kind of the same thing.
It's cool stuff. It's super nerd stuff, and I love, and I'm not an expert in, but it's truly amazing, and that's what motivates me to help people get healthy and live their big, large life, because it affects us now, it affects the next generation, and on for 7 generations. It's beautiful and it's amazing.
And you know what? If you can inspire someone to live well, just one person a day, that spreads.
Yeah.
You're inspiring so many people, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
That you can go out there and you can inspire someone to live a better life.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want to do with life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
So I want to make sure that you're able to talk about your business and what you do and how you work with people and all of that fun stuff. So let's do that. I really wanted to talk about the Quaker Oats, but let's just have you on again because everybody has to have their oatmeal. And so this is going to be a conversation for the next one, so you're going to want to watch because it's so interesting. But talk about your business.
Yes, and definitely let us know, like on Facebook or Instagram, since we're live. Is there something that you want to hear about? Is there a question? Because that can lead into discussions for future podcasts as well.
Absolutely.
So I own Sage Nutrition Coaching, and I can be contacted by website. I'm on Instagram. I am on Facebook. I check Instagram much more often. You can always email me. I do every once in a while do posts about, hey, I saw this, and here's where that research came from.
Oh, I love that.
And it's not not valid, so that they have that. And again, I like to work with clients up from, okay, where are you? What do you want? How can we adjust your lifestyle a little bit? And I always get the science in here. Here's what your body needs. Here's why it's potentially reacting this way, so that people are understanding. I want them to understand the science behind it. What are my cells doing with things? Why do I need these things? And so I work one-on-one with clients. I work a lot with some of my sister's dancers and some of her Pilates clients.
Nice.
And such. So,
Cool.
and I work with people around the world, so we can Zoom, we can talk. I'm okay getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to meet with someone.
Good for you.
Because, if that's 6 p.m. for you and it's 3 a.m. for me, you shouldn't have to get up at 3 a.m. my time.
Agreed.
Or your time to do that, so. So I love to work with people. I love to impart knowledge. I love to have people think critically. And that's my big thing when I work with clients, is how can you think critically about what is happening around you. And it doesn't have to do with nutrition. It doesn't have to be with exercise, with your life. Something that's happening on the side that has nothing to do with this. How do you think critically about that? How do you find that information? And I always challenge people, like I said, look at both sides. Look at both sides, because things are going to change. especially nutrition. We're in the infancy of our research.
Yeah.
We really, really are.
Yeah.
But it's going a lot. It's going fast.
Woo, it's going fast. You start talking about epigenetics and future generations, you're like, whoa, slow down. It is amazing, and it's beautiful, and it's so much fun. And so, thank all of you for joining us. We will definitely have Tammy on again, because I'm excited and nerdy.
And she wants to talk about
fun.
Quest Nutrition and
yes.
Quaker Oats.
Yes, I want to hit
stuff.
all the things that we didn't hit, and it's maybe we'll do two other shows, because I also want to talk to you about mycotoxins. I mean, it's huge. So
it is.
TasteLifeNutrition.com is the website. Obviously, Taste Life Nutrition, all social media. You can go to the website. You can fill out a form. It's a health form. It's just a quick assessment. Gives me an idea of what's going on with you. Gives me an idea of how I might be able to help you, or even how I might be able to refer you, or give you some thoughts on what might be going on. Let's see, starting a new program, Soulful Conception, which is so much about epigenetics, because it just excites the crap out of me to help people to understand, to empower people to understand that they have so much power in creating their healthy pregnancy, their healthy baby, a successful adult, as well as successful generations to come. And again, I say it, I think it's so important. It's 7 generations that we can affect by being healthy as we can, as we're trying to conceive. So take the time to care for your body before you try to conceive. This is for men and for women. It's huge. You both must be in tip-top shape. And it just creates beautiful outcomes all the way around. So reach out. I'm happy to answer questions, here to serve, here to bring you good people. And we'll see you next week. See y'all later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nikki.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I get all wound up and I don't say thank you to you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Okay, now stop.